Carmen Bolden from the 6 Degrees of Edgar Allan Poe, and we are locally here at Mount Juliet, Tennessee at Providence Wine and Spirits with Literary Flower owned by Crystal Mether. And Crystal is going to tell you all about her literary baked goods. Hey, Crystal. Hi. So what all do you have?
So we have a menu, different February menus. So we have My Precious, which is a nod to Lord of the Rings.
Nice.
So it's a chocolate chip with a sprinkle of sea salt.
Oh, that sounds good.
We have Sherry after Mary Shelley, and that's a salted honey pistachio cookie. It's actually our best seller.
I love pistachios, so I'm definitely going to try one of those.
It's really unique. It's not too sweet. It's really nicely balanced.
Okay.
Over here we have First Edition. It's a birthday cake sugar cookie. So it's actually a celebration of us being in business for a year. So we called it First Edition.
Okay.
Next year we'll bring it back, call it Second Edition.
Love it.
So
Love it. Okay.
And then we also have Cruise Breaker, which has been our most popular flavor this month, and it's a dark chocolate strawberry cookie.
Yum.
So over here we have a few My Precious Pride. So that's a chocolate chip, and then you break it open and it has a rainbow middle.
Nice.
And of course we have our Mask of the Red Velvet, which is a nod to Mask of the Red Death by Edgar Allan Poe.
And I have had these, and they are amazing. You need to try them.
So for Valentine's Day this year, we released our King of Horror collection, which is a nod to some of my favorite Stephen King books. So we have our Red Rums, which are a strawberry rum sugar cookie. They're over here. We have our Prom Queen, which are a red velvet with white chocolate drizzle. And then we have our number one fan, which is a chocolate cakelet with milk chocolate and then a royal icing axe on top. So, yeah. So here we have some sugar cookies that we originally made as a gift to the Lebanon Library. We love our librarians and our local library and love, supporting them. So we made them as a gift, and they were so popular, and we received so many requests that we did end up making a special order for them. But we have here, support your local library, and then read banned books. So here we have My Precious Pride. We released this last year during Pride Month. And it is our My Precious, which is a classic chocolate chip with a sprinkle of sea salt. But the middle is a rainbow.
We are so glad we got to come over here to Providence Wine and Spirits and see Crystal and talk with her and see all of the baked goods. It's very exciting. And so, Crystal, where can people find you again to do special orders for Valentine's or any time of the year?
Yeah, so our website is literaryflower.com. We're also on social media. It's just at Literary Flower on Instagram and Facebook. Social media is probably the most up-to-date in terms of events, but orders or special order requests can be placed on our website, literaryflower.com.
And you've got monthly menus for people to choose from.
I sure do, and I can do orders as far as like a month out.
Okay.
And go ahead and get them on the books.
Okay, well, thank you so much for having us over to the pop-up.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was such a fun experience.
It was
wonderful.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for watching and listening. We are Poe out in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. Good evening. Welcome back to Poe Discussions with Carmen and Jeanie. I am Carmen Bolden.
I'm Jeanie Smith, and we are
the Poe-tastic Two.
Okay.
And we have a special guest tonight, and her name is Crystal Mether, and she is her, I guess, bakery or like company is Literary Flower. I was gonna say, you can correct me on that, Crystal. But yes, Crystal, please introduce yourself. Welcome.
Okay, sorry about that. I have a cuckoo clock and it decided to go off.
Oh, okay, no problem.
Yeah, I'm Crystal Mether. I own Literary Flower. So it's a home-based bakery, and we create all kinds of cookies and treats named after literary references or some of my favorite authors.
Awesome. So,
Nice.
so getting kind of just right into it, when you say some of your favorite authors, who are some of them?
So definitely Stephen King is
Mhm.
probably up there. I feel like Stephen King is really where I fell in love with reading.
Okay.
Um, in my early teens, that's where I really fell in love with it. I'm trying to think who else. I mean, I feel like the ones you read when you're really young, those are the ones that stick with you the most, Just
Yes,
the ones
yes.
that make you fall in love with reading are the
Mhm.
ones that you just can't really like shake.
Yeah.
Stephen King, Lemony Snicket, is a big one for me just because when I was learning English and everything, like those are the books that I was reading and I just love them so much.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah,
Um,
VC Andrews was one of mine when I was in high school with
yeah.
Flowers in the Attic. You know,
Yes.
all of
That's
that.
those are
But
good,
yeah,
Jeannie. Yeah.
yeah, because it goes along with the Stephen King. Have it, and then you have Flowers in the Attic, and all those because they fit that one thing. And just like you need to make something that has Tommy knockers. You know, yeah, because I mean that's the one that always getting me. I keep thinking it in my head. Tommy knockers, knocking on your door, and I'm like, yeah. Okay, sorry, my creep meter just went woo. Okay.
Oh, yes, yes. Yeah, I love Stephen King as well. I probably didn't start reading mostly his books probably till I was, I guess, started in maybe my late 20s, early 30s. And it was just one of those things. I was always afraid of being too afraid and just
Mm.
seeing some of the movies. I love the movies, but it was one of those things, kind of like, if you watch Friends, Joey reading The Shining, he puts it in the freezer.
Yes.
And what's so funny, I finally, like, I loved that movie and saw that in my early 20s, and then finally read the book probably about 10 years after that. And I was like, it's very psychological. It is fantastic book, but I did not feel like I needed to put it in the freezer.
No, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Misery was the one that really messed with me,
Yeah.
especially when they came out with the movie with Kathy Bates. I'm like, that woman should have won every award there was known to man for that, because I'm like, when she takes that sledgehammer, and I'm like, oh, she's
Ugh,
reliving
yes,
all the ones that, if there's somebody that we just want to take out. Okay.
absolutely. Well, when you were in, a lot of people tell us that when they first read Poe, it's either very late elementary school, like if it's like fifth or sixth grade, but most people start reading Poe like seventh, eighth grade, maybe even ninth. When did you first read Poe?
I think middle school. I think
Okay.
around seventh or eighth grade.
Okay. So, do you have a favorite story or poem by Poe?
Ooh.
And we always ask this of everybody.
I feel like again, it's one of those where the first one you read, when
Sticks
you're
with
lucky,
you.
that's the one that's the most impactful and like no other story kind of you don't really have the same level of a reaction to it.
Mhm.
But I guess for me it'd be Telltale Heart,
Yeah.
just because it just you just feel like you're in there, like you are
Yes.
stressing with him. Like,
Yes. Yes.
so I think probably Telltale Heart, just because it's just stuck with me the most, being the first one.
Yeah,
And that kind of
absolutely.
makes a lot of sense, considering Stephen King. One of the reasons that makes him such a prolific and well-renowned horror writer is his psychological aspects to his stories,
Mhm.
which I think one of the things about Poe's Telltale Heart is because it's the psychological. It's
Mm.
like everybody is the narrator. Everybody has got that one pale blue eye that's always messing with their head, because
Mhm.
we as human beings, we walk around and we think about everyone and whether they're judging us, what are they thinking about us, and that to me is what the representation of the telltale heart is that judgment that we all seem to come under. And it most of the time it's just a figment of our imagination that we're creating.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's one thing is about, Stephen King. He's got that down pat too. And I think that's one of the Poe biggies, in my opinion, is his way of bringing real life into his stories. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. Well, and it's amazing how he achieves that in such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Like you just get thrown right in there too. Like
Yes.
there's really no build up. It's just we're in this really stressful situation and go.
Yes.
yeah, whereas most of the time you get the whole book because you start from beginning to the end. It's like Poe is like, forget that. We're just going to jump right into here, and you're
Yeah.
going to see,
Yes.
all the crap that we have to deal with, and like right here, right now.
Sorry if you can hear my dog.
Oh, no, it's
That's
all
fine.
good. Yeah. No, all of our listeners and viewers love pets. So
Mhm.
we welcome them. Our
Yeah,
co-pets.
at
So
least mine's not giving the butt to anybody, so that's good.
that's true. Yes, her cat likes to come up and show everybody its her rear end.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
like, stop showing off. Get your butt out of the way.
exactly. Well, Crystal, tell us about Literary Flower. We're really excited about, like, I met you at the Hermitage when Charles Wissinger, I think you were there,
Uh-huh. Yeah,
and that's
poetry and a Growling Poe Living History event.
yes, yes. And
Yes.
so because I bought the Red Velvet Skull, I brought one for me and one for Jeanie, and we were like, oh, we need to get more of these, and we just haven't. And so plan to get some of those on Saturday, and we'll talk about that later. But yeah,
Yeah.
tell us about Literary Flower. We're excited to hear more about it.
Yeah, so it kind of started just because my husband, he kept saying like you should really think about, selling cookies and things. And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, I just enjoy doing it. It's fun. And then over time, I really kept thinking about it and I was like, you know what? I might actually try that. And he jokingly said, because I mean, he knows I'm a huge book lover. Like I have over 1,000 books. We bought our home
Oh, wow.
specifically because the living room is very long. And literally, as soon as we walked in, he went, "You could line this with bookshelves." And I was like, "Sold."
That's a dream come true.
Yeah. So,
Exactly.
he jokingly said, "Oh, you could call your chocolate chip cookie my precious." And I
Oh,
was like,
love it.
that's a good idea. And then we jokingly kept saying like, oh, and we could call this. And I have a lemon cookie. The recipe has actually been passed down 4 generations on his family side. So they gave me
Yes.
the recipe, and it's one of my most requested cookies, and it's a lemon cookie. And so I said I could call it Lemony for Lemony Snicket,
Yes.
and it just kind of snowballed from there. And
Okay.
just fell in love with the idea.
That is awesome. That is really cool. And so on Saturday, we'll go ahead and talk about this since we're kind of there. Well, Friday night, I was going to say, tell us about your pop up event for kind of getting ready for Valentine's Day on Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, so on Friday and Saturday, I will be at Providence Wine and Spirits in Mount Juliet. It's a liquor store, and they have this bar area where they graciously let me set up for my pop-ups. The
Okay.
whole team there is so wonderful and kind, but I'll be there on Friday from 4 to 7 p.m. and
Okay.
then I'll be back on Saturday from 12 to 5 p.m.
Okay, great. And that's in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. So if for our local viewers and listeners, definitely check that out. Come by, and we're going to come over and like film her, all of her um, baked goods
Goodies.
and the pop up, and add that to the video interview. So yeah, we're excited about that. So what Valentine's Day baked goods are you bringing?
So I had a lot of pre-orders I listed the pre-orders about a month back. So for Valentine's Day, I did heart-shaped chocolate chip cookies. I did a metal heart tin with 2 of each flavor that's on the February month. It also brings a literary flower sticker and a literary flower bookmark.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And it's a reusable heart-shaped tin because I love heart-shaped things so much. But then for my collection this year, last year when I first opened the business, I did the Poe collection, which is what you saw at the Poe event.
Yes.
I ended up recreating the whole collection, and I added the Quoth the Raven s'mores marshmallow treat.
Okay.
So I did that one last year, and this year I knew that I wanted to do something fun again, and I kept going back and forth. Last year I also did like classic romance, so like famous literary couples.
Okay.
But for Halloween, I had thought I should do a King of Horror collection. I should do
Yeah.
a Stephen King collection. And October was just so busy, and I thought, you know what? I want to do that for Valentine's. So that's
Yeah.
why I released the King of Horror collection. So a lot of it was through pre-orders, but I am hoping to have some available in person as well because I
Okay.
still have some heart-shaped containers. So
Oh, nice. Okay. Very cool.
that those will be available on Saturday.
Okay. The King of Horror collection, right? Okay. All right. No, that sounds good. Jeannie, what questions did you have?
Well, many people don't know about the behind the scenes of baking. So, number one, you said it's a home bakery, so we all have our ins and outs. I mean, come on, tell me who doesn't buy like a boxed cake and throw it in the pan and go, "Woo, I baked it." Um, so, so what first of all, can you tell people what red velvet actually is? Because that was the one thing that Carmen bought for us was your red velvet skull.
Yes. They were so
Yeah.
good. They were so
Yeah,
good.
most people don't know what real red velvet is. I mean, for the longest time, I thought it was just, a red cake mix or something like that.
Mhm.
But I found out later on. So, can you tell us a little bit about the red velvet and how you choose what you create, not just for the literary side, but how difficult it is to mix and choose your goods to match with what you're doing?
Yeah, so it definitely takes a lot of recipe development, especially with the really detailed pans. So I had to work with that recipe for quite a while. And it's funny because I see this pop up in baking groups every once in a while where the comments will actually get kind of heated when it comes to red velvet cake.
Interesting.
Because some people say, no, it's a vanilla cake with just a little bit of cocoa powder and then,
Mhm.
the red food dye, but it's mostly a vanilla cake because it has minimal cocoa powder. But other people say, no, it's a chocolate cake. It's the chemical reaction with like the cocoa, because that's what gave it the red tint.
Mhm.
Okay.
Back in the day, that's what gave it the red tint, a chemical reaction. But I think in the 40s, they may have used natural food coloring to amp up the red. And now we
Okay.
just use, red food gel.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to get that really pretty red color, that pretty bright red color. So to me,
Yeah.
red velvet does taste more chocolate cake.
Mhm.
But a lot of people will argue, no, it's vanilla because it doesn't have as much cocoa powder as a actual chocolate cake would.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the signature red velvet flavor also is because of typically use buttermilk. Most recipes use buttermilk, so you get the tang from the buttermilk too.
Okay. That makes sense. That definitely does. Yeah. Red velvet cake is one of my absolute favorites.
It's
Absolutely.
good.
I love it. When my husband and I got married, we had a lemon wedding cake, and then his groom's cake was red velvet. And so,
Oh, that's such a good idea. I also had a lemon cake for my wedding cake too.
oh, awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so good. And I don't think lemon cakes or cookies get the credit they deserve. They're
They
so
don't.
good.
They
They're
don't.
so
I feel
good.
like that and a good shortbread cookie. I feel like they're
Yes.
so often overlooked because they're considered plain or simple.
Yeah.
But when it's executed well, that's what makes it
Yes.
so special.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, because
Um,
most of the time it's the simplest recipes that are the hardest to get right or wrong, you
yeah.
know. And most people, like, I'm gonna say this, and don't take this the wrong way, since you're literary flowers, but I'm not a cookie person.
She's
The only
not.
cookies I ever like are just plain shortbread cookies or my Girl Scout cookies. And that's because I think I was trained that way since I came up from being a brownie all the way to the max. It's like I started my sales experience selling cookies. So, but
You got cookied out.
yeah, I got cookied out. And but yeah, I mean, sometimes just the shortbread cookies are
Mhm.
just really good. Just
Hmm.
having them with tea, and I'm not
Oh
British,
yeah.
but I mean, it kind of works together.
No, truly. I mean, I'm right there with you. I think some of the simpler ones are just so good. Like the lemon cookies, it's not a lot of ingredients at all, and it's
Mhm.
so simple and such basic ingredients, but I mean that's why it's held up through 5 generations too, because
Yeah,
it's like yeah.
exactly.
And if
Now,
you screw that up, you're just stay out of the kitchen. That's all I gotta say.
now, do you have other like family recipes that you are using, or do you come up with most of the recipes yourself?
So most of them I do come up with myself, or it's some that I've seen online and like modified over the years to my liking.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm trying to think. Really, just the lemon cookie is the family one.
Okay. Okay.
My mother-in-law does have a really good sugar cookie recipe as well, but for the designs that I do, it's spread too much, and chilling
Okay.
it, even chilled, the recipe just wasn't working well. So that's
Okay.
a find a different one.
Yes, absolutely. So, and I guess so you do custom orders as well as just have, a product line of different things for different holidays and things. So, what are some of the custom type of orders that you do?
So I do have like the monthly menu, and people will order from there because I rotate two of the cookie flavors
O-
each month, typically
Okay.
1 to 2 flavors. But uh for example, the Hermitage, they're doing a vow renewal. So
I
they
saw
asked if I
that.
could create bundt cakelets, like mini bundt cakes.
Hmm.
So I'm doing that for them.
Okay.
So we're doing chocolate, red velvet, and almond mini bunts.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's cute.
So typically most of my things are from, the monthly menu, unless someone wants a large amount of like lemon cookies or something like
Yeah.
that. But recently the conversation heart cookies that I did, those were actually, they were custom, but they were just a gift from my local library because they're all so sweet there.
Hmm.
Um, and they actually, so my, not to go on a tangent, but my grandmother, she has dementia and
Okay.
Parkinson's, and she's reverted to mostly primarily speaking in Spanish. So I
Okay.
asked them if they could help me find a children's book in Spanish because I figured it would hold her attention better. And they
Yeah.
were so kind, and they
Oh,
like
that's
took me to the
amazing.
kids section, helped me pick out a book to read to her. And it was such a bonding experience reading that to my grandma. I actually read her Matilda in Spanish.
Oh, that
And
is so wonderful.
yeah, and it was just so fun. So I made those cookies just because I love them so much. And they were just such a hit that I did end up selling some for for
Yeah.
Valentine's. I got some orders from other libraries, which was wonderful.
Oh, that is really neat. So how long have you like really been into baking? Like, has it been like since you were young or?
No, no, not at all actually. My mom never really baked. If she did, she'd make like the Nestle Toll House,
Mhm.
back of the bag, like the classic delicious cookies.
Yeah.
But she didn't really experiment past that. My grandma, she would make Spanish desserts. Like she'd make
Mhm.
budín and flancocho and stuff like that. Um, but never cookies. I can't recall her ever really making cookies.
Okay.
But it just kind of started when I got out on my own, and moved in with my now husband. I started cooking a lot more, and I wanted to make desserts, and I ended up really enjoying it. And each time I'm the kind of person where if I try something, I next time I want to just do it better and better and keep,
Yeah.
trying new things and expanding my knowledge, and that's how it kind of started.
That's really neat. Yeah, because I think some people like have like bake from when they're little with their mothers or grandmothers and kind of carry that on. I
Mhm.
know a few people that do that, but and then sometimes even in high school, it's like when it hits. And so it's kind of an interesting thing to ask people that
Yeah.
are bakers. So
Yeah, I think that's so cool. Especially, I'm really jealous of people that grew up learning how to make bread. Like
yes.
their mom or dad, made bread, so they got to learn that, because that to me is just, I've tried a couple times, and props to people that make bread, because that is a whole science.
It really is. My oldest stepdaughter has a degree in culinary, and one of the jobs she had at one time, she was like making bread. She would go in really early, make bread, and I know it really enjoyed it. But I've tried different styles of bread. Some I do better than others, but it's not my thing. It's definitely not my thing. But
Well, and
I wish it would be.
it's such a time commitment too. Like
Yeah,
such
yeah,
such a time commitment. And again, it's one of those things where it's such a simple recipe technically, but it's all about
yeah.
the execution. It's all about, the technique. And
Oh, I
Yeah,
know.
that's just like I had one of my she was a family member, but she pretty much kind of helped raise me. I loved her sourdough recipes.
Oh,
I mean,
yum.
it's their sourdough bread, and I was like, this is just I've tasted sourdough before, like at Cracker Barrel and other places, but when I was growing up, she could just knock it out like right like that. It's like
Mhm,
that's all she would do was bake throughout the day, and her biscuits, her bread was phenomenal because she didn't make a lot of sweet stuff other than
Mhm.
just bread. And it was like, okay, but I agree with you. If you take up doing bread, it's going to take up a lot of your time
Yes.
because it's a whole other art form. It's like in cooking and baking, there's separations and there's like different things that have their own uniqueness to them.
Mhm.
So, and then you're using like particular pans that are made that look like a skull and
Yeah.
other things. And correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't just the changing of the baking pan can change like how long you bake it and how
mhm.
long, how much it takes and how to fill it. And so
Yeah.
you have to constantly check that and, do all that. Cause I know that if you bake at a higher altitude, it can change a whole different thing. So
Mhm.
chemistry is one of the things that, I used to teach science way back in the day, but that's one thing
You
about
can't
chemistry.
tell.
I know. It's like you wouldn't think that just baking would have a lot of chemistry behind it, but like you were talking about with the red velvet, even though, yes, you put cocoa in it, but it's mostly a vanilla cake and some cocoa, but just that reaction, that chemical reaction, is changing the whole dynamic of the taste. So, it's just phenomenal. I mean, okay, I'm gonna ask, was this one of the things that you just truly decided, like, hey, I'm gonna be a baker? That's my life's goal. That's what I want to do. I'm gonna be a baker. Is that what you thought?
No, no, not really. It just was something I really enjoyed. And it's actually kind of funny because back in, God, like, what year is it? Hold on. Let me think.
I know.
Some last year, 2022, January 2022.
Okay.
Um, One of my close friends that I've known since sixth grade, she wanted to go on a bachelorette trip in Chicago. And while we were there, we were at this like really nice bar and things. And um, her now sister-in-law said, if you could have one dream job, she asked each of us, if you could have one dream job, you don't have any limits on it, like, what is the one thing that you would just love more than anything? And when I got to my turn, I was like, I would love to open up a bakery. I think that would be so fun. And then, so a year later, flash forward to the next January, is when I actually, my LLC went active and I actually started the business. So I like texted them in the group chat and I was like, hey, you remember a year ago? That was cool.
That is really cool. That is awesome. Because so many people don't get to live their dream of, what they really want to do.
Yeah.
So that's so
And
cool.
I mean, and since starting it, I see now how very, very difficult a physical storefront would be. Like that has so much more to
Yeah.
take on. Um, but it's been so cool, especially doing events and like the poetry event. That was just such a dream doing that event. I
Yeah.
did the Legend of Sleepy Hollow. I did the Christmas Carol with Gerald Dickens.
Yeah.
It just has been so much fun.
That's cool that you kind of have partnered up with the Hermitage for those events. I've been to, well, that Poe event, but there was another gentleman that did Poe a few years before that I had been to there. And Jeannie and I have seen the gentleman that did the Sleepy Hollow event. And I've
Yeah.
also been to the Charles Dickens event as well. And so I know when you were there, it was very exciting to have something that a sweet treat that you could buy and,
Yeah. And I believe that was the first time they had a sweets person there.
I think so. Normally they haven't, if I remember correctly, I don't think that they had food. Jeannie, do you remember if they had food
Yeah,
before?
they had just a little small sampling to go along with the drinks that
Wine
they were
and
Oh
selling.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, but
that's right.
they didn't have a separate set like where with yours with the
Yeah.
bakery goods and stuff like that, which
Hmm.
I think that would have been awesome if it'd been there when we were there, but I'm just saying.
Yes. Oh yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
but I mean, it makes wonderful sense to have that tie, and it
Yeah.
makes it so much more because it connects so much with what we do with our podcast about the 6 degrees because it's
Mhm.
connecting. Who would think that, baking would have a connection to literature?
Yeah.
But you can turn it into that because I mean it's perfect. Like you were talking about the lemon cookies, and I immediately went back to you talking about lemony snicket, and I was like, "Ooh, it'd be really cool if you could come up with a lemon and a Snickers cookie and call it lemony Snickers." You know, I don't know what it
Snickers.
tastes like. Yeah, Snickers, lemony Snickers. But
Oh,
but I mean that's just and it hits upon creativity so much.
yeah.
You can have fun with trying to come up with those kinds of things and connections
Yeah.
Well,
and
and
then
I think it's, for me, it's so much like part of the fun for me is when I get to meet people that get it. Like
Yeah.
when they make the connection or just seeing them as they're, reading each one and they get the reference and they're like, ah, oh my gosh. Like it's so fun to connect with people because
Yeah.
I think that's one of the main things I want to do is show how much you can connect with people through books. Um,
Yes.
like it's just amazing because you can connect with people that otherwise you wouldn't have anything in common with. Like,
Mhm.
you can be out in public and see somebody reading a book that you just finished last month and
Yeah.
there's there's your connection. Um, but yeah, I love reading. I love talking with people at these events. Um, but yeah.
so
Yeah.
there's social goods. You can just call instead of baked goods, call them social goods because
Yeah.
you're connecting socially.
Yeah.
That's
And
true.
definitely
It's
conversation
like,
starters. And it's
yeah,
it's funny. I probably shouldn't probably shouldn't say it, but I noticed on one of the comments where the article got shared from being on News Channel 5,
Yeah.
somebody commented and said, "That's just a skull." And I was like, "Did you read the article, sir?"
yeah.
Like
Exactly.
it's
Exactly.
it's Mask of the Red Velvet. Like
Yes.
it makes sense if you get it. If you don't, then then it's just a tasty treat. Like you still win.
Yes.
You still
Yeah.
win.
Yeah.
You get the goods from both ways. You either get the nice little sugary goods or you get the literary goods. So,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and then if you're really great, then you got the literary and the sugary. So it's all good.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I know. There's what I think is really cool is with you kind of you with your name literary flower, you haven't limited yourself to specifically just certain styles. You can do anything you want with your creativity and what you want to create. And I just think that the world really is your oyster.
Oh, thank you.
It is.
Yeah, I love the name so much, and I worked with a good friend of mine, Sarah. I've actually known her since, gosh, I think elementary school. But she's a graphic designer, and she
Okay.
created my logo. And she presented multiple options, and the one that I ended up choosing, she said, "I call this one the Hamlet," and I was like, "Oh," and she's like, and I just fell in love. I was like, "Well, that's it. It's done. We
Exactly.
can wrap this up. That's the one."
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
So,
Well,
Like
do
the
you,
king.
what have you got different plans for different things for the future coming up soon?
trying to think. Right now it's more Valentine's Day survival mode.
Absolutely, because I know that I worked in a florist when I was in college, and that
Oh
those are
yeah.
rough. Those type of things are rough times for those few
Well,
weeks.
gosh, and this time of year, like, and it's a wonderful problem to have. It's truly,
Yes,
it's
yes.
the best time. But you have Valentine's Day, and then you get hit with Easter, then you get hit with Mother's Day. So it's like
Yeah.
boom, boom,
Oh
boom.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All I gotta say is bah humbug. Sorry.
Oh, Jeannie. Jeannie was born on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Were you
So
really?
yeah, so
Oh, well, happy early birthday.
thank you. I mean, when I was younger, it was great, but then when when I got to the high school level, then it was like,
Yeah,
you
I get
know, like
that.
wonderful, great. Can't go out to eat on my birthday because everybody's got to go eat, you know.
Yeah, I guess I can kind of relate. Mine's December 14th. So while it's not like my grandma's, whose is Christmas Eve, the 24th,
Oh,
Oh, wow, wow.
it's still, close enough to a holiday where it's like,
Mhm.
yeah,
You
no
yeah,
feel
one
like
can
you're
do
sharing it.
anything.
Yeah,
Yeah, no one
yeah.
wants to get together because, they have plans. So I'm assuming it's the same with Valentine's. Like,
oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
It gets a little annoying, but hey, it is what it is. So
That's why she's always bah humbug and all
yeah.
the other things.
no, I
Hey,
did.
I'm really happy for people that celebrate that. And I always used to joke, because my mom would always fuss about my dad. He would like forget to get her anniversary card or get he would remember her birthday like 2 weeks later or something like that.
Oh
Oh,
no.
And
wow.
then, me being born on Valentine's Day, I'd always tease with my mom was like, well, if I ever get married, then I'm going to get married on my birthday. So that way I can knock out all three holidays at once, my anniversary, Valentine's Day, and my birthday. I said, but my husband would definitely going to have to work really hard all year long to be able to afford that much on one
Yeah,
day.
Yes,
that'll be a
yes.
very good birthday.
Yeah.
Oh,
Birthday
But
anniversary
yeah.
gift.
yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh. That's almost too
birthday.
much.
Yeah, it never happened. So I knew I would never have to worry about it because I was like, there is no way that I would get married on my birthday. My uncle got married on my birthday, which, being 14, that just was not good for a teenager to have your uncle get married on your birthday. It's like, dude, I'm trying to have a birthday party here. I can't go to your wedding. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
So it was like, well, whatever.
Oh.
But yeah.
I did want to ask. I actually met, I believe it was Jeannie, but maybe you were both there. I feel like I interacted with Jeannie though. This was
Okay.
like 2 years ago. It was Rotten Revival at the
Yes.
Capitol Theater in
Yes.
Lebanon.
Mhm. Yes.
I
Okay.
remember that. Actually, I
Yeah,
do.
you guys had a table or
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, we were there last summer and the summer before.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, this
So it
would
would
have
have been
been
2 years.
2022.
Yeah. Okay. So that
Yeah.
I
would have
thought I
been,
recognized you, but I was like, I don't know, because I'm like, I don't go out a lot of places lately, so it was like,
yeah.
well, maybe it's just, one of those things. Being a teacher, you see faces and you're like, oh, maybe I knew her or she was one student or something, but I'm like, eh. So, but yeah, that now that you said it, I remember now. I was like, oh yeah, I
Yes.
remember you from Rotten Revival. That was cool. I
Yeah.
enjoyed that.
Yeah. And Jeannie is going to try to come with me on Saturday
Yes.
and to do the filming. And my husband has a really nice camera and he's going to do the filming of everything. So
Oh, perfect.
yeah. And so hopefully we'll get to film and you can talk a little bit about, like, when you're showing the stuff and that kind of thing. So that'll be good.
Okay. Yeah.
So Jeannie, what other questions do you have?
Well, I know that you're going to be at the Wine and Spirits this weekend, which that's going to be awesome. Because I hate to say it, alcohol and good, Valentine's Day goes together really well too. Uh,
It does. Yeah.
but do
It
you have any kind of bigger plans? Like, are you going to be at any other festivals since you brought up Rotten Revival? Do you do the festivals, or have you thought about doing a lot of different festivals
yeah.
around the area?
Yes,
And do you
definitely.
have any coming up?
I do. I did so many last year, and last October I had an event every single weekend. I actually had one weekend with two events back to back. I won't do that again.
Ooh.
That's a
It
lot. That's a
was a
lot.
lot.
Yeah. October's a
Um,
popular month for those.
yes,
Yes.
and it's all the like really fun ones too. It's all the
Yes.
like Halloween ones or the more unique ones,
Yeah.
and I couldn't help myself and just kept going. Yep.
Oh, I'll just keep
I know I
going.
do.
I'll just keep going.
I have some fun ones coming up. So I have Southern Grist, I believe it's March 10th. It's a Women's Day market. So
Okay.
it's going to be all small businesses that are, you know, women owned in the area, all small businesses. So
Okay.
that'll be Southern Grist in the Nations, that location,
Okay.
which again, alcohol and tasty treats. But it's
Yes.
not just all baked goods. There's also going to be, you know, artwork, candles, some clothing, things like that.
Okay.
Then after that, I actually have a really unique event. It's going to be Goth Bats clothing swap.
Oh,
It's the second
fun.
annual one, and they do donate a portion of the proceeds to a charity, which is really neat.
Okay.
And then after that, my next big one is Punk Rock Flea Market in Murfreesboro. So
Nice.
that one's
Oh,
Okay.
actually April 20th.
I
Okay.
think, yeah, I think I saw that one advertised through one of the other guys that we met at Rotten Revival, Glenn Hughes Art.
Oh,
So
yes. I
I
think
think
you're
he's
right,
going to be
Jeannie.
there too. So
Yeah.
that sounds
Yeah.
cool.
Well, and
Yeah.
So
what's
that
really
way,
fun about doing these events is you end up kind of running in the same circle. So, you know,
Yeah.
there's so many people that I keep doing the same events with, like Hoodoo Dollies. I've done so many events with her, and she's so sweet. Cynthia's so sweet and kind. But it's always just fun because it's like a little friend reunion every time. You're like, oh hey, I didn't know you were doing this event. Like,
Yeah. Oh, that's
it's
cool.
it's fun.
Yeah. We have done some events, like Rotten Revival. We've done the we did Halfway to Halloween last year in Manchester. That was a lot of fun. That was in May. And then we did the Oddities, Curiosities Market in Camden, twice, once in the summer and I think it was August, was it, Jeannie?
September or August, I
September,
can't
yeah.
remember.
So,
Oh,
and
that's
And
then
then
really
the
cool.
Tennessee Haunts
yeah, the
is
Tennessee Haunts. And we also traveled last year. We've done the International Edgar Allan Poe Festival for the past 2 years, and that's in Baltimore, right around, it's always the weekend closest to his death date. And then we also did an Edgar Allan Poe's The Telltale Steampunk Festival back in April last year.
What?
That was
That
also
sounds so
in yeah,
fun.
in Baltimore. That the Edgar Allan Poe International Festival is always amazing, and it's getting bigger and bigger. But the Steampunk Festival was really different, and we had tons of fun. This year they're changing the theme every year, so this year it's more Sherlock Holmes. So we
Oh.
decided not to go back as a booth and everything. But yeah, um, we wish the Poe things were closer, but
Yeah.
we make it work.
And
Yeah.
Crystal, do you get a lot of orders from outside of the area? Like, do you just stay within this particular geographic region, or do you get some orders from online from other places?
So I get a lot of requests from people out of state asking to order cookies, but under the Tennessee Food Freedom Act, it limits me to only sales within the state of Tennessee, unfortunately.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Okay.
that's one of the things I kind of wanted to ask because I was
Yeah.
like, I think
I
there was a
wish so
regulation.
much I could sell out of state, and if anything, just so I could go do events in other states.
Yeah.
Because there was a romance book like convention in
Mhm.
Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, and I was like, oh, that'd be so much fun.
Oh, yeah.
And there are some that are in Tennessee, but they're always in Knoxville, which is a ways to travel
Yeah.
with all those cookies.
And
Uh,
it's Knoxville. Sorry.
uh, so yeah, I'm hoping one of my real big goals this year is the Southern Festival of Books.
Oh,
I'm gonna
Yeah.
apply
yes.
for that when it opens in March.
That's a great festival.
I
Yeah.
think that would be so much fun. So fingers
Mhm.
crossed. Uh,
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And you should, and I don't know, I'm assuming that maybe should have the same amount, but when I was still teaching, we would do some of our in services at the fall book, Southern Book Festival, but especially for the
Mhm.
literature teachers and stuff.
hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, you'll probably get a lot of a lot of teachers showing up. So, one thing with a teacher, we love good books and we love good food. So
Yes.
go
Yes.
And
through our brain and our stomach and we're great, check, kill them both right there.
yeah, I have actually met so many teachers through the business, and
Mhm.
it's just so wonderful. Like, I feel librarians and teachers are just so underappreciated.
Yeah.
Like, one of my best friends is a music teacher.
Okay.
So I often talk with her about everything. Um, but yeah, it bums me out, like, especially because I know there's teacher appreciation week, and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, we kind of need more than just once a year though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah. And I currently teach English in Rutherford County right now. I teach freshmen and love what I do. And yeah, it just we are appreciated, and but yeah, the one week it's like, yes, it's like wish it could be sprinkled a little ways out
yeah,
throughout
instead
the
of all
year.
just packed in one week, like
Yes.
spread it out. Um,
Yes.
I feel like a lot of people just don't realize, and I get to see it, because of my friend, um,
Hmm.
but how much you get done behind the scenes or at home,
Yeah.
or how many things you pay for out of your own pocket because
Yeah.
the funds that you are given are so limited. And I know a lot of schools have wonderful principals that really advocate for their teachers and try to get them more funding, but at the end of the day, there's only so much that each school gets.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I'm
teachers just inevitably end up paying out of pocket for things, like so many things.
absolutely. I will say I've got a great principal and admin team that I work for, and it's wonderful when you have that. It's
Mm.
really good.
Yeah, and I was going to suggest that, you might want to have your friend or somebody else start hitting up some of the PTAs, the parent teacher associations, because
Mhm.
during teacher appreciation, that's one of the things that they like to provide for the teachers is like some snack times or
Yeah.
some baked goods, and yours would be extremely special because
Yes.
being a teacher, we're like, oh, cool. Well, it doesn't matter what you teach, like science, you could bring in the different, like the red velvet cake, we would enjoy that time. For
Mhm.
history, Mask of the Red Death, or Lemony Snicket for the literature teachers or things like that. So you could probably throw something in there for math, but hey, you say, look, I baked it. I used all the right kind of,
So many
Measuring.
measuring.
measurements.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
and
both of them amazing
Jeannie
too. Yeah.
Jeannie is odd for many reasons, and I would say that
Mhm.
very warmly. We have this kind of banter all the time.
Yes.
We have to reel Jeannie back in.
Yes.
But Jeannie has taught every main
Subject.
subject, like
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
I call it the big four. I teach English. I've taught English, years ago because I was in administration for a while, and I decided to get out of it and go back in the classroom because I just missed working with the kids. And I taught history years ago. So, but Jeannie has taught the big four, and so she is a very special kind of teacher because of that, because she is so talented in all of them.
Yeah.
I'm a
Well-rounded.
Renaissance teacher. I'm a Renaissance teacher.
You
That's what I
are,
used
yeah,
to
that's
tell
what I
my
called you
students.
the other day.
Yeah. I'd tell
Did you
my
have?
students because I taught theater arts too. I
Yes, you
was a
did.
Oh my
drama
gosh.
Yeah.
teacher and government. And so it was like very odd how I ended up in all that. But it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Now, did you
it
have a
actually,
favorite one? A favorite subject?
um, I actually do. I love government. It's really kind of odd when I tell people that. Now, yes, literature is always going to be my first love as, my hobby, like, because I love to read and I love to write. But for the teaching aspect and the different subject, I would have to say government was my favorite because I could, well, it was also at the high school or the, preteen, like the 14, 15-year old. So, it felt more realistic because I could connect to real world for
Mhm.
them,
Hmm.
because it would be something that they would be like, "Oh wait," and I'd be like, "Yeah, like 4 years or less, this is going to be you." So it was one of those things, and it was great because I could see the connection. I could just see the excitement about, because we all remember when we were teenagers, one thing that we wanted to do was get out of high school and grow up.
Yeah.
Now I'm kind of like, can we go back?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I'm tired of adulting. Can we just go back? But yeah, government was my favorite because I got to actually explore all different subjects in one with government.
Yeah.
'Cause I got to look at the literature side, because when they were writing things like the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, I mean Magna Carta, all of that, I got to look at from a literature point of view. I got to look at it from a scientific point of view because they were trying to balance out the science of different and the military, the humanity of it all, the economics. So it kind of fit a whole big package. So to me, it's kind of like your literary flower shop. You know, you got all the elements. I'm still kind of wondering with the math, but you can just tell them you're measuring everything.
Oh
It's like,
yeah.
look, I measured it right. So that's so. But yeah, government, and now I don't like politics. Let me just put it that way. Government and politics are not the same, in my opinion. But that's just, let's just go. We'll just leave it at that. But anyway,
Yes.
so, but yeah, I'm so glad that you joined us, and I'm so glad
Yes.
to hear that there's so much that we're branching out of, because this is the one thing that helps with our podcast, to show that there are things that connect that you would never think about.
Yes.
So we're gonna let
And
wonderful to have you and your little Frenchie dog. We're sorry the
yes.
cat's mean
Yes.
to you.
Yeah. What
So,
is your dog's name?
Lucy.
Lucy. Oh,
oh,
nice. Very cute.
Lucy.
Lucy. Okay.
But
Yeah.
yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was so fun. This is my
Yes.
first podcast and
Oh, awesome.
video
Awesome.
interview, so it's been really fun. It's been um like you said, it's kind of just like having a conversation with some friends. Just
Absolutely. Yes. And that's what we want. We don't want it to feel like you're being drilled with 20 questions.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we want people to recognize you and what you do,
Yes.
and
Your art.
um yeah, your art form,
Yeah.
because it is an art form.
It
And we look
is.
forward to seeing you this weekend. And remember, anyone in the area, come on out. You get your wine, spirits, and your sweets on.
Yes, for Valentine's Day. And Crystal, where else can they find you online? Like if you want to share out your
Yeah.
Yeah, so on Instagram and Facebook, that's probably the best spots to find up-to-date things, all
okay,
my menus and any events I'm going to be at. So it's just at Literary Flower on
okay,
Instagram and Facebook.
okay,
Try to do next door as well, but I'm not as on there as I probably should be. And then my website is just literaryflower.com.
okay.
And it's spelled FLOUR, not the FLOWER.
Yes.
So just so everybody can know that, it's literary flour as the baking flour. So
Powder, not petals.
exactly.
Well, and
Although
it's
you
so
can
funny
put those
because
ones.
I quickly encountered that when I was trying to get things going for the LLC. Anytime
Uh-huh.
it's on the phone, it catches people off guard. They're like,
Okay,
"What?" They instantly want to do FLOWERS.
absolutely.
But yeah, the
Oh, that's
literary flower.
yes,
Yeah.
and when we publish this audio and we do the video, we always put those links in the description comment part, and then that way people can find you as well if they didn't quite, hear it. So
Perfect. Thank you so much.